Turbo and 2K Show.
What is up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again. 2Ks, we got a hell of a show for the folks, and I am really excited because it's our first NFL show of the year, or at least an NFL themed show. So I'm really excited about that. But yes, we are live over on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and our Facebook. So if you can't find us, I don't know what else to say, except Connor Wong just hit a solo shot, got right behind Rob Ruffsnyder. We're watching the Yankees Red Sox while we do this thing for you guys and gals. But 2Ks, man, it was quite a weekend.
Yeah,
quite a weekend. Lots of things to get into, lots of things to talk about. I got some big news planned, but like I said, we're gonna start with the news, go on to some of our reactions to some MLB trades, and then kind of do a little projecting to kind of see where some of the remaining pieces might fall. And while you're all here, we are going to get into our top 10 wide receiver quarterback combos. Now, didn't want to do like pass catchers, so we're bringing tight ends and stuff like that into it. So we're just sticking with the receivers. So 2Ks, I'm not gonna lie, when I was doing this was kind of tricky. There's a lot of new faces and new places. There's some unproven folks, and when you get a guy like Mahomes, when his primary receiver is Travis Kelce, I mean, you could argue that Travis Kelce is kind of a receiver, but he still is technically a tight end. So that's kind of off the table. So with that being said, 2Ks, you want to get into some news here real quick?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's start off with, we haven't had a good Caitlin Clark moment here yet, but this is from Stat Mamba. It says Caitlin Clark already has more career assists than 75.4 of all players in the WNBA history. That's insane to me, 2Ks.
Yeah.
And because she's obviously not any good. Everyone thinks Angel Reese is like the queen of the WNBA, but yeah, she's setting records. She's continuing to set records, and 2K crew, this is she's not even over the first season. So when you kind of project that out, I mean, if she continues on this path, man, we're looking at historic numbers. So again, we are a big Caitlin Clark show, so big fans of hers. So we're going to continue on that. Let's see, what else do we have here?
The thing with Caitlin Clark that is, I think we all knew, come through her college career that the scorer that she was, but
right,
being like the all-around player that she is. She's not just a scorer. She obviously with these assist numbers, she puts up rebounding numbers. She plays good defense. Like she's just an all-around good player.
Exactly.
Yeah, fun, very, very fun to watch.
Exactly. Well, 2Ks, did you know that there is are you aware of this tear that Bobby Witt Jr. is on?
Yes.
Ever since, he's the leader in wins above replacement for the season, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But yeah, he's hitting 344 since I think that's since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So, sorry, there had a little.
Yeah, I knew that he was hot, even though I don't watch very much Royals baseball. But when I do a lot of like betting 2 total bases on guys all the time, and majority of the time, even like your Aaron Judge, your Gunnar Henderson's, like when you bet them to get 2 total bases, a lot of times it's minus 105, minus 110. Right now with Bobby Witt, I was looking at it today, he was minus 240. So it was like, yeah, he must be on a tear right now. He's obviously seeing the ball well.
He's pretty good. Let's see here. This one actually caught my eye, 2Ks. This is from the Woodward Sports Network. Hulkamania was at the Lions camp. I mean, yes. The Hulkster is making his rounds here. First, the Republican National Convention, and now at the Lions camp, Hulkamania running wild over in Detroit. I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. I growing up was a huge Hulk fan. So to see him kind of doing his thing like that, I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool. And kind of piggybacking off of that, I probably should have done this one prior to the Hulkster, but got a little excited. But this one's from Jeff Pass in 2Ks. Major League Baseball has a new leader in wins above replacement, and it's Bobby Witt Jr. American League MVP voting this year is going to be diabolical, meaning there's Judge, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr., and you could throw Juan Soto in there. That all about have the same kind of stats. So aside from the home run numbers that Judge is putting up, but I think we were not the only ones that were just like, all right, yeah, this is pretty much Judge running away with this MVP. But it's not that he's playing bad. It's not that he's not continuing to put up numbers. It's just everyone else is just doing it at an insane clip to catch him. Now, aside from injury and stuff like that, I really don't think we're gonna have to worry about someone else taking over the home run lead.
Sure.
But as far as everything else, I mean, I'm stoked. I am stoked. Let's see here. You would think I would actually put these in order, but I didn't. Do you want to get the Paul Skeens dick riding out of?
It seems like that's what we do. We do that really well these days. Yeah,
we do. This is from our good friend Jay Hay over at the Baseball is Dead podcast. Full list of pitchers with an ERA under 2 and at least 90 Ks through their first 12 career starts. Paul Skeens. A very elite list for sure. But yeah, I mean, we say it week in and week out. If you haven't seen this dude pitch, you need to. It is must-watch TV. He just continues to get better. He did suffer his first loss. Gave up 2 runs, and unfortunately, the Pirates couldn't plate a run. But yeah, I believe he pitched into the 9th. Still continued to dominate, but just gave up the two runs. So, which just further, he is human. He is human, but he's an elite human because the rest of us would have given up way more than 2 runs. And speaking of elite pitching here, 2Ks, Jeff Passan tweets that Dylan Cease has no hit the Washington Nationals, 114 pitch, 3 walk, 9 strikeout gem, in which his fastball hit 100 miles an hour in the 9th on his 110th pitch. On September 3rd of 2022, he gave up a hit with 2 outs in the 9th. Today, he throws the second no-hitter of the 2024 season, and I do believe the second no-hitter for the Padres total. I think Joe Musgrove did one last year, correct? Or 2 years ago. So yeah, that's obviously a really cool one there. I think that's all the news aside from let's talk some NFL contracts here, 2Ks. It's been a really, really good week this last week to be an NFL quarterback. This is a tweet from RG3. It says, "Thank God Tua Tagovailoa finally got paid. Although he earned the right to be the highest paid player ever, he took less and is the franchise quarterback Miami needed. Can't say enough about the job Mike McDaniel did rebuilding to his confidence. Gave him his aura back. Coaching matters." And there's another one here too. Where's that other one? I don't think I put it on here. But to kind of continue down that trend here, 2Ks, Jordan Love signed a big contract from Ian Rappaport here. It's a 4-year extension worth $220 million, making him the highest paid player in NFL history. Now, I say all that to say this because, where's it at? If we look at this, this is from Rich Eisen, and I'm kind of feeling his vibe on this one. It says the new top 8 annually paid quarterbacks in the NFL: Jordan Love at $55 million, Lawrence at $55 million, Burrow at $55 million, Tua $53.1, Goff $53, Herbert $52.5, Lamar $52, and Jalen Hurts at $51. Combined playoff record 16-17. Combined Super Bowls 3. Combined Super Bowl wins 0. Paying and hoping. Now, you and I were kind of talking about this kind of last night about if this is what these players are getting.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chiefs have to be thinking they're the smartest team in the world, locking up Patrick Mahomes as early as they did, and we all kind of at the time were like, "There's no one worth $50 million a year."
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing players that aren't even proven. I mean, hell, Jordan Love played 10 good games last year, and gets the biggest bag in NFL history. So I think it's more, and my biggest question is how high is this going to go?
Mhm.
Where is it? Where there has to be a top of this, and I think too, it's kind of the whole Michael Jordan wasn't the highest paid player on his team, let alone the highest paid player in the NBA,
Mhm.
and we saw Tom Brady take. And they redid his contract numerous times to make room for their salary room for other players. So I guess it's really good to have a GM that knows what the hell they're doing and can actually, I'm not going to say support this, but kind of work around this, because you would think that in the end, where's the money going to come from for all the rest of the team?
Mhm.
Yes, the quarterback is the most important position. I get that. But it seems to me there has to be a top to this. There has to be a ceiling.
Yeah. But it's you. I mean, you need a quarter. If there's anything that we've learned over the years, is you need a quarterback to win in this league, and I think you worry about those other issues when the time comes.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have this chance right here, where look, make him a highest paid quarterback, but it's going to be a discount if you wait. It's be a discount to do it now, because if you wait for a couple more years and he has another season like he did last, and we have every reason to believe it's going to happen, you're getting him at a discount now. So,
and I thought I had a tweet here. It said that the quarterbacks of that class have already signed contracts over $1 billion combined, which is insane to think about, that there's that many quarterbacks that are having that much success, all from the same draft class, and just goes to show you where the state of the NFL is, with all of the streaming rights, all of the TV deals. Add on to that now with the emergence of sports betting, and I mean how we're seeing ESPN has their own book.
Yeah.
So is it just going to be a matter of time to where the NFL is just like, we're going to cut the middleman out, and we are going to run our betting, our own book for our own league, and none of the other, the DraftKings, the FanDuels won't have access to the NFL any longer? I think that's a very good possibility because of the influx of money that's brought. So just kind of an outside the box thought, but yeah, it definitely shows you where the state of the NFL is, for sure. Let's see here. Speaking of new contracts, Red Sox re-signed or extended Alex Cora for 3 years. There was a whole bunch of rumors leading into the season that he was not going to return. No matter how much money they paid him, it wasn't about the paycheck. It was just him, for lack of better terms, just getting out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Which Alex Cora, this is not me not being biased, but I honestly think he's one of the top 3 or 4 managers in baseball. He's proven, he's done it. He's won a World Series. And so it's kind of cool that, yes, they're bringing him back, but it's also kind of unique because this is the third kind of regime as far as, GMs are concerned, that have all brought him in. Started with Dombrowski,
right,
and then now the last 2. So it's like, all right, there must be something there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think there's an argument to be made that he is the best manager in baseball. I mean, just look at his resume. Look what he's done. Look what he's doing this season with the team that I think, not that they're bad, but I think they're way, way ahead of schedule.
Yes.
Very, very young, up and coming team. Have really no business being in the ballpark with Baltimore or the Yankees that they're playing against here tonight. And a couple weeks outside of the All-Star break, and they find themselves right there in the thick of things, where they're definitely the team that's playing the best baseball right now. We'll see how that goes here the next 2 months. See what they want to do here in the next couple days with the trade deadline. But you got two teams in Baltimore and the Yankees that are kind of scuffling, and you have this Red Sox team that starting to play their best baseball of the season.
Yeah, with the exception of going to Colorado and
Yeah.
getting blown out and giving up 20 runs, which was kind of, which granted it's Colorado. The ball is going to fly a little different. The pitches aren't going to react the way that they normally do. So I get that, but yeah, that to be honest with you, that series right there, right coming out of the All-Star break, really taxed this bullpen, and it hasn't been the same. So I'm hoping tonight that Mr. Houck can eat up some innings for that bullpen and get them rested, and yeah, just kind of see where it goes from there. All right, well, 2Ks, let's talk about some MLB trades. What do you say there? Start with the one. I mean, the obvious one. He's playing right now. This is a double tweet here. I got the top one's from Jonathan Papelbon, the bottom one's from Jeff Passan. Pap says at Yankees get Jazz Chisholm in a trade, 240 lifetime hitter with a 30% K rate. I bet him and Verdugo will be best friends. And then Passan says the New York Yankees are finalizing a deal to acquire outfielder Jazz Chisholm from the Miami Marlins. Sources tell ESPN. Now, what Pap is referring to there is there's not. He tends to be not the highest character type of player, and is it what this Yankee team needs to kind of move forward in the season? I think he fills a hole, and judging from what they were saying pregame here, they're actually going to give him some run at third base, which, as you remember, he came up as a shortstop, so that's not out of the realm of possibility for him to play there. But there's definite rumors that the Yankees aren't done yet with this trade deadline, rapidly approaching on Tuesday. So, and I absolutely believe them, because if they think this roster right here, they're just going to roll out and be favorites to win the World Series, I think you're asinine. But that I would expect them to go get a starter. They've been linked to a number of them, and they've also been linked to Luis Robert, which I didn't know that the Yankees farm system was quite that good to pull that off, but we shall see. We shall see. Another big name on the move, 2Ks. Again, this is just from Jet Passan. Full trade per ESPN sources. Seattle Mariners receive outfielder Randy Arozarena. Tampa Bay receives outfielder Aiden Smith, right-hander Brody Hopkins, and a player to be named. I'm pretty sure he meant to say later, but it says last. Fills a big hole in that Mariners lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing with the Mariners is, for one, they play in the most wide open division there is, where they've played really bad to this point, and they're finding themselves right there at the top of things and kind of in the driver's seat in that division. They had a power bat. They need it because their offense is one of the worst in the league. Their pitching has been so damn good. I expect this to be a team that they got to do more. This is a step in the right direction. Get you a power bat. They got to add another bat or two, though. To me, they're a team where if you have a lot of have the trust in your pitching, you got to possibly go look at a Luis Robert and try to add a bat like that to that lineup, because right now there is nobody in that lineup that's doing anything.
No, and honestly, if it wasn't for the horrible season of the White Sox, that Mariners team offensively would be dead last in every single category. And to say that, where it's pretty much the White Sox have obviously mailed it in. I mean, they're just going through the motions at this point. That team is terrible.
They were done before the season even started.
Yes.
They knew that this was what they were going to be doing come deadline time.
Yes, and so to have that, where your team's actually trying, if you're the Mariners, and you're just a little bit above where a team that isn't trying is kind of ridiculous at this point. But like you said, it is something that hopefully, because that pitching staff is too elite to miss the playoffs, and once you do get into the playoffs, would be a scary team to face, even in a 5-game series, let alone a 3. So hopefully they can get that turned around. Let's see here. Paredes from Tampa got moved today to the Cubs, which I thought was rather weird. Yep. Judge almost hit a home run.
Yeah, it was a kind of a weird trade. You have two teams that I would think were sellers.
Yeah.
Both of them. Tampa already basically showed that they're sellers because of some of the other deals that they've pulled this week, and then you kind of do to me, it's a very even trade.
Yeah.
You have a power hitting Paredes, who's been pretty good this year. His average has climbed up a little bit from what it has been over the years. He's hit some home runs, and then Morale from the Cubs goes to Tampa. Morale, kind of the opposite. He's kind of that similar bat to what they just got rid of with a Rosarania, where power has the power to hit 25, 30 home runs, going to strike out a lot, and going to bat somewhere in the 220 to 240 range. And it's like they got rid of one and grabbed another one like that. So it was just kind of a weird trade to me. Obviously the Cubs maybe there's something with the Cubs and Paredes, just because he was drafted by them, or not drafted, signed by them. Early at like 16, 17 years old, before he was traded to the Tigers. Maybe there's something in the system where they really like him, and that's why they wanted to make this move. I don't know. This was just kind of a head scratcher to me, because it's two teams that I have no chance. Then you would think would both be selling, looking for prospects, and instead they're making moves for players that have been in the league for 3 or 4 years.
And the Red Sox made a move for Paxton, so they get him back, and the Jensen kid, who's actually playing tonight, from Toronto. So things are starting to heat up. Things are starting to heat up. I have a feeling that tomorrow and Tuesday, this isn't going to be the last. The last little buzzer going off on your phone for a trade.
I don't think there's been a lot of feelers. These are kind of just feeler trades, kind of seeing where teams are at and what. I don't think there's going to be off the wall trades where we're giving up top end prospects for great players. I don't think that Tariq Skubal is going to be moved. No. I don't think that we're going to see stuff like that. But
I think Jack Flaherty will.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He's been linked to Houston.
They have to. Tigers have to move him. I did see that the Tigers traded Carson Kelly, backup catcher, today. They got 2 prospects out of that. I don't know anything about what they got. But for Carson Kelly, he was having a pretty decent year for the Tigers, and kind of a resurgence to his career, because he was a very highly touted catcher coming out when he was drafted, and never really panned out, and had some really rough years to where can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Diamondbacks. They just ended up getting rid of him. But the Tigers traded him to the Rangers today. But no, Flaherty will definitely be moved. Guys like Chafin in the bullpen, I think he'll be moved. A good chance you see that. There's probably the possibility that you're going to see a couple veteran bats like Hanna and Urshela that teams will be interested in. But as far as the Skubal deal, it's gonna take Baltimore getting involved, and Baltimore's going to have to cut ties with two of those top 5 prospects that they have, and one of them is going to have to either be Holiday and Mayo if it happens, and I don't think Baltimore wants to do that.
No, but you're right. A dark horse for that one, I think might possibly be Atlanta, just because all of their prospects are locked out.
Right.
They're position locked. I mean, their whole team is basically 25 and under.
Sure.
So it's one of those abundance of riches type things, similar to Baltimore. But good news is Javi Baez got hot at the right time. Maybe someone will take a flyer on him. Doubtful, but it's starting to rain in Boston. But yeah, it's get locked in, baseball fans, because I think we're going to be in for quite the trade deadline. It's like I said, there really hasn't. Jazz Chisholm is probably the number 1 name so far that's been moved. You already mentioned Skubal. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other guys similar to him that I just don't think have a chance of being moved.
Yeah. The Crochet deal is interesting with the White Sox. He's kind of, it's the news surfaced on that to where he wants a contract negotiated, or if to any team that makes that trade happen, which I see what his point on that. He's coming back from injury. He's got to look at his own career and
Mhm.
longevity, and get, he wants to make sure that he's going to get his money that he deserves. So, do I think he gets moved? Yes, just because it's the White Sox, and I think that they're selling out on basically everybody that
Yeah.
anybody wants to give up something for. The White Sox are going to be all in on it. But yeah, but it seems like this happens every year. You have your big ones that you talk about. This year, it's been the School Bowl, it's been the Crocheted. But there's always that surprise. There's
Mhm.
always that surprise team that's willing to kind of get into it, and there's always some player that nobody really is talking about, and all of a sudden the team decides they're going to be sellers
Yep.
and sell out on. I guess one of the things that I'm really watching for is I'm really watching this Texas team.
Yeah.
They win the World Series last year. I personally think they got to sell. Like, there are a lot of aging players in that roster, and they have to see that they're not. I just think that they were a team last year that really honestly got hot at the right time. They made some great deals at the deadline as far as bolstering that staff. They pitched the ball great in the offseason. They got a couple of bats that got extremely hot, and they went on to win it. But I think this year they have to. I don't think they're built to withstand the success that they had last year. I think they have to sell on this. So that's kind of the team that I'm the most curious to watch here in the next couple of days to see how it shakes out.
And I would not be offended as a Red Sox fan to bring Evaldi back. I think that'd be a great move.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, get on that. Get on that. So 2Ks, the moment I think all of our viewers and listeners have been waiting for. Let's rank our top 10 wide receiver quarterback combos. You want to do just 10, 10, 9, 9? You want to do it that way?
Yep.
All right. Well, who is, and again, the requirements for this list is you have to be a wide receiver and obviously a quarterback, but no other pass catchers, just wide receivers. Who is number 10 on 2K's 2024 top 10 quarterback wide receiver combos?
I'm starting off with the homer and me. Rookie, we haven't seen this combination yet, but I'm going with a rookie quarterback. I'm going J.J. McCarthy. And the only reason why I have him on this list is because he gets to throw to the best wide receiver
Yes.
in the NFL. And I'm going J.J. McCarthy. Don't know if he'll be the starter right off the bat, but I think he will be the quarterback that starts the most games for the Vikings when the season plays out. But I don't know how you can make this list. And even though these guys have never played together, how can you make this list without the best wide receiver in the NFL on it? So
yeah, I do not have them on my list, and I do have a note here that says no Justin Jefferson because JJ hasn't been named the starter. Now, if he was named the starter, that would put all of my all the questions I have aside, and they would have time to build up the stats that you would need to make this list. And yeah, I definitely don't trust Sam Darnold.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. I don't know if McCarthy will be the starter. I kind of don't think he will, but I would be shocked if he doesn't have the most starts of all the quarterbacks by the end of the season. So yeah, that's why I'm going, and that's why I put him at 10 is because there's too many question marks there. But you can't make this list without listing the best wide receiver in the game.
And my number 10 is it's a rookie wide receiver. Words are hard. And I'm going Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, they're number 10 on my list because they haven't played a single NFL game together. And is Kyler that prolific of a passer? Not really. But when you have Maserati Marv going down the sideline, I think that's going to make Kyler a better quarterback.
Sure.
So yeah, that I have a feeling those two are going to be hooking up quite a bit this season. So that's just going to be an exciting pair to watch. And you could say the same thing if Marvin Harrison Jr. was on any other team. You could say the same thing. And if you're a fan of that team, you would be super stoked. But yeah, a talent like Marvin Harrison Jr., even though I'm not the biggest Kyler Murray fan, I think just having him is going to make Kyler a better quarterback and that team better. Because the last couple of years, that team has stunk bad. And yes, Kyler hasn't been healthy for the most part. But yeah, if if Kyler can stay healthy, I think that is a top 10 matchup there. Number 9, I've got Baker Mayfield, Mike Williams. Kind of the tested Mike Williams, the steady Eddie, 1,000 yards, 100 catches every single year. You can just pencil it right in. And now that Baker's extended there, I mean he's there for a while. That I think that that relationship just continues. So they're my number 9.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm going with right there with you at number 9. I have the same exact team on my list. Yeah, there's a lot of criticism that has come out of my mouth
Hand
about
up,
Baker
right here.
Mayfield,
Yep.
and I sat here and put my foot in my mouth last year at the end of the season and talking about Baker Mayfield and the season that he had and how good of it. And the team in the playoff made it to the playoffs last year and ran into one of the hottest teams in the NFL in the Lions.
Yep.
And I would have, if somebody would have told me that they were going to be a playoff team with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback last year, I'd have said, "You're fucking nuts."
No way.
And then when it comes to Mike Evans, guy just puts up 1,000-yard seasons over and over again, scores touchdowns.
I did say Mike
over
Williams,
and
I
over
meant
again,
Mike
just
Evans, yeah.
a walking mismatch. So I gotta go there, Baker Mayfield and Mike Williams.
Who you got at number 8, 2Ks?
Number 8, I'm going with your number 10 team on that one. Kyler Murray. Last year, not much to really take off of that season, coming back off the injury.
Mm-hmm.
But the best thing happened to him this offseason. He got the best player in the draft and slid to number 4 because of other teams going for quarterbacks. And Marvin Harrison Jr. shows up there. I know these two haven't played together, but look, Kyler Murray did this shit with DeAndre Hopkins for a couple of years, where DeAndre Hopkins was top 2-3 fantasy receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Murray was top 3-4, top 5 fantasy quarterback with the numbers he was putting up. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is right there at that level of what DeAndre Hopkins is, and with the size that Marvin Harrison Jr. has, and just he hasn't proven it, we haven't seen it yet, but to me, his ceiling is even beyond what DeAndre Hopkins, what we ever would see out of him, and that's a Hall of Fame wide receiver that we're talking about. So
yeah. I like I said, I've never been the biggest Kyler fan, but I'm actually excited to watch them play. My number 8, I'm going Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk. Brock isn't sexy, he just gets it done, and I think with Ayuk, I think this is going to be a prove it year. He threatened to sit out, and I think he's back, and who knows where the contract is with that. But I think that yes, you could make the argument here, 2Ks, that Debo is more vital to that offense, because we saw last year when he went out, that offense kind of sputtered. But I think as far as pure wide receiver talent, I'm taking Ayuk over Debo. Now, I would much rather have Debo on my team because, like I said, vibes. And he just his versatility, catching, taking handoffs in the backfield, let alone catching balls out of the backfield and running every single route that a receiver can run. His value to the team, I think, is higher, but when we're talking about just pass catchers, I think Brandon Ayuk is a top 10 wide receiver when it's all said and done. But like I said, Brock doesn't get nearly as much love as I think he should. So that's why he's number 9 on my list. But you're going to see the next 7 are just electric. So I had to put him in here. He had to make my list.
Yeah.
Who do you got number 7?
Number 7. I'm gonna go Geno Smith and DK Metcalf.
Ooh, Geno
Smith, DK Metcalf, and it's basically DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Geno Smith is he's a serviceable quarterback. That's what he is. He's not a guy that I don't think is going to be able to take this team to the promised land.
No.
Make a long run into the playoffs, but he's a quarterback that can get to the playoffs, and the biggest reason why he can do that is because he's got DK Metcalf, who I consider definitely a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL.
And absolutely jacked,
Oh,
and is just a
Fucking man amongst boys.
Yes. My number 7, I'm going. It's weird because this right here. This quarterback has 2 receivers that you could put aside him on this list, and I'm not really sure which one I want to put with him. 2Ks. I'm going Matt Stafford, and I think moving forward you got to go Puka Nacua here, and that's not a shot at Cooper Kupp by any means, but we saw last year. Granted, Kupp was coming off an injury, but we saw the chemistry between Puka and Stafford just blossom right before our eyes, and he was basically like Cooper Kupp 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm giving the edge here, at least in the preseason, to Puka Nacua being that number 1, but it's not far off. I mean, when your quote unquote number 2 is Cooper Kupp, that's not a bad wide receiver room at all. So yeah, I'm going Stafford, Puka Nacua for 7. My number 6, I got to go Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson here. And the reason this is not higher than a lot of the other ones is we didn't get to see this tandem last year. Had we, I think you could have the possibility of moving Aaron Rodgers up in this list. But since we haven't seen it, it still deserves to be in the top 10. It doesn't quite crack the top 5 just because we haven't seen it. But I do think it does garner the respect it needs at 6. Who do you got at 6?
Number 6, I'm going, and this is another one that I think could be, sky's the limit here. Could be number 1 by the end of the season. The problem is, I don't know who's gonna. It's a good problem to have because there's plenty of help on the field, and I don't think it's gonna be going to one guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to go C.J. Stroud.
You got to pick one.
I'm going to pick Nico Collins because I thought that, what they did last year, the success that they had, I'm going Nico Collins with this. I know that they add Stephon Diggs to the equation. That just makes it even better. Tank Dell going to be coming off of an injury. You can make a case that maybe CJ Stroud and Tank Dell were even better together before, better than Nico Collins before the injury. Mm-hmm. But what him and Nico Collins figured out in that last quarter of the regular season and then into the playoff game, and that's the thing. That's where I'm saying this. It's not even. This is a trio or whatever you want to call it of what you have. And this, this is a team kind of my dark horse to win the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. That's how good I think this offense is going to be. But I have them at 6 right now. It's just because who's going to be? I don't know who. It's not really a duo. I don't know who that wide receiver is going to be.
Right.
And I have them at 6 because to me, with my next 5, I don't know how I can leave any of them out of my top 5. So I'm going C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins.
All right. Who's your number 5?
Number 5, I am going with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown.
Same here. That's my number 5.
Yeah, it just A.J. Brown is a fucking beast. There's no question that he, even as good as Devonta Smith is, to me, there's no question who the number 1 target is.
Yeah.
They do things to get A.J. Brown the ball.
Which you should.
Yeah. And I mean, they do a lot of things just to get him the ball, and kind of similar to what San Francisco, not as much, but similar to what San Francisco does with Debo. Get him the ball and just let him do something with it.
Yep.
When you have somebody that is just that big, physical, just a walking mismatch, to me, I don't give a shit how easy, dumb it looks. Get them the ball and let them do what they do.
Yeah, it's a wide receiver room very similar to Seattle, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Whereas Devonta Smith plays that Tyler Lockett kind of role. Do both of them get their share of balls? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But your main threat is the big guy. In this case, A.J. Brown, where it's DK Metcalf over in Seattle. Physically both very similar. I mean, they're just giants among men. But yeah, I could not agree more. And just the fact that, even going back to last year, A.J. Brown was on pace to break records and everything else, hadn't he got hurt and dinged up a little bit. So very excited to watch them. But number 4, 2Ks. Number 4. And this is where it kind of gets into that. Could you possibly, if the rules allowed, could you, would this quarterback's number one receiver be a tight end, or could it develop into that number one receiver? And I'm going Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I say that because Laporta is just a stud. And do I think it's there yet to where he's taken that quote unquote number one spot? No. That, I mean, when it comes down to it, when they need a third down conversion, they're going St. Brown. And if you watched Receiver on Netflix, that dude, I mean, just the work. And he got paid. And I don't think that's going to slow him down at all. So I like Jared Goff and St. Brown at number 4. Who do you got?
Number 4, I'm going Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb could make a very good case that to be the number one wide receiver in the NFL. I think I have him at number 2 in the NFL right now. If I was doing my personal rankings on that, I have him at 4 because I simply don't have a whole lot of faith or trust in Dak Prescott.
Yeah, that right there is why I didn't even put him on my list.
Yeah, it's they put up huge numbers together. I mean, CD gets his numbers about every single game, and you really can't say this about him not getting his numbers even against good opponents. But Dak Prescott is good for 2, 3, 4 interceptions every single time that they play a game against a team that is to their level.
Yeah,
they'll play against the fucking Giants and teams that shitty all day long and put up 40 some points and not turn the ball over at all. But as soon as they got to play against a San Francisco, as soon as they got to go play against a playoff caliber team, they're dog shit.
And to kind of build your case for CeeDee Lamb, like the last 3 quarters of last season is when he kind of emerged as that number one receiver that they needed. Prior to that, he's always been good, but I wouldn't put him in that elite category. And now with kind of his quote unquote breakout season last year, I think he's ready to get into more people's top 5s. So yeah. And again, what's the status with Dak? He's on the outside looking in with all of this money getting thrown to quarterbacks. How is that good? Me personally, I don't think he's going to let a contract come in the way of his performance. He just doesn't seem like that type of a player, but we shall see. Number 3, I've got one of your picks so far. I'm going CJ Stroud, Nico Collins. I think with the healthy Tank Dell, and now, like you said, the addition of Stephon Diggs, it's going to open this kid up even more because you can't double team all 3 of them. You just can't. So, and I think as good as Stroud was last year, I think he does better this year. I think he has better numbers this year. And I'm right there with you as far as this Texans team not only winning the AFC South, but making some noise in the playoffs again. And granted, the AFC still goes through Kansas City, whether they're playing in Kansas City or not, like they proved last year. But yeah, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. And, and speaking of that, neither one of us have even talked about Patrick Mahomes and his receivers. Will they be in your top 3 2Ks? What do you got?
Number 3, I'm going Amon-Ra and Jared Goff.
Love it.
Look, as long as these guys are together and they got Ben Johnson scheming up plays to get Amon-Ra open, which, I mean, Ben Johnson's proven that he's best in the business. We'll see how much longer the Lions can hold him. Teams are going to call him every single offseason trying to get them as their head coach, and this is going to go on until he finally leaves. And I think that the Lions are probably running out of time with that, unfortunately.
Yes.
But as they're together, what he does for this offense and how he schemes up ways to get Amon-Ra open all the time. Because let's be honest, Jared Goff is not a top tier quarterback. No. He is middle of the road. He's paid as long as he's taking care of the football, and not trying to play out of his characteristics and just take care of the ball and make the throws. And Ben Johnson's proven that he can do that and set him up in situations where he's going to succeed. And St. Brown, when he gets the ball in his hands, and for being an undersized wide receiver, not your typical, when you talk about wide receiver duos, you're talking about guys that are 6'2", 6'3", that are mismatches in the end zone. St. Brown just is he's open all the time.
Yes.
One of the best route runners in the NFL. Great after he catches the ball. I got to have him in my top 3.
I think now with the number 1 and number 2 spot left for both of us, I have a feeling we both have the same ones. It's just who's number 1, who's number 2. Possibly.
I think I got one that you have in the top, and I don't even have him in the top 10.
Really? Because I'm going Tua, Tyreek Hill. I mean, we saw, Tyreek was on pace to break the single season record as far as yards were concerned. And it was the first time we actually saw Tua healthy for the entire season. And when you got Waddle on the other side, that offense is just, with Mike McDaniel, I mean, he does an amazing job. Stats wise, it tells me you have to put Tyreek at number 2.
Listen, I'm right there with you as far as Tyreek Hill and his ability of what he can do as a wide receiver. I don't give a fuck what anybody says, and I will sit here and say this all day long. Tua will hold this team back from doing anything for the remainder of all of these guys that you can talk about their contracts. There will never be McDaniel will never win a Super Bowl with Tua as his quarterback. Tyreek Hill will never win a Super Bowl with Tua as his quarterback. They last year one of the best running teams in the NFL. They were the best. I mean, maybe San Francisco, with what they did, but after that, it's them. What they were able to do with 2 different running backs, both probably 2 of the fastest running backs in the NFL, and how they just ran. Then you have the fastest wide receiver in the NFL. But if you have Tua as your quarterback, it's not going to happen. And I don't have him. I'm leaving it. I left him out of my top 10 because I don't give a fuck. You have maybe arguably the best talent of any team in the NFL on one squad. And you're going to try to roll through this shit with a fucking quarterback. You had the opportunity this last year to draft. How many quarterbacks were just drafted in the first round? And the Dolphins aren't even going to fucking bat an eye at any of those. We're going to keep rolling this shit. We're going to pay Tua all this money. And that's going to be the answer. I think, to me, in my opinion, that was like the worst fucking deal that they ever could have done. I would have taken my chances with one of those young quarterbacks and tried to start this process over. You have the fastest wide receiver, who's the best fucking deep ball receiver there is in the NFL, because he simply just runs past people. And you have probably the weakest arm of anybody in the NFL throwing to him. I mean, Tyreek Hill, how many touchdowns did he not get last year because he was simply underthrown by about 15 yards and had to go back and get it? I have nothing good to say about Tua. I think he will. I just think that they will never be anything other than a first round out playoff team every single season that he's the quarterback there. And for that reason, he's fucking out. I don't even have him in the top 10. I put Geno Smith in my list before I put that. I
love it when we get 2Ks fired up. I love it.
So
love it.
He's out. Number 2, I'm going with another duo that we haven't seen yet. I think when the season's over, this is going to be the number 1 duo in the NFL. But I'm having them 2 because we haven't seen him yet, and I'm going Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. All right. Look what Aaron Rodgers did with Devontae Adams. You're talking about...
Well, hell, Devontae's going to be there.
Yeah, there's a good chance Devontae's going to be there, too, and it's just going to be insane. Garrett Wilson is a fucking stud.
Yes.
Has never been given a chance in the NFL because Zach Wilson was his quarterback.
And he was damn good with Zach Wilson.
And he was good right there. Now you're going to have arguably one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history.
Yep.
To me, Garrett Wilson's going to score so many fucking touchdowns this year. Listen, people, fantasy football, you better be drafting Garrett Wilson. I know it burned you last year because Aaron Rodgers goes down in the first drive of the season.
Yeah.
And it burned everybody that drafted Garrett Wilson in the first round. But draft him again this year in the first round. You are not going to be upset. I promise you that.
And who is your number 1 2Ks?
Number 1, I got to go Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Same here.
To me, you have a quarterback that, and I've always said that I think that Burrow is a little bit overrated. And that's not. I'm not trying to say that he's bad. I'm not going to go on a train here and talk about how I talk about Tua. I'm not saying that Joe Burrow's that. I'm saying that Joe Burrow has always benefited off of having a very, very good receiver
At
core.
LSU, he
From
had
his
him and
college days.
yeah.
I mean, arguably he has the two best in LSU. He had the two best wide receivers in the NFL today on
Yeah.
that same roster.
Yeah.
So he's always benefited from having a very good core.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, like, I still think he's top 6, top 7 at least quarterback in the NFL. If it wasn't for the injuries, probably is in my top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
But then Jamar Chase, if he's not my number 2 receiver in the NFL, he's my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So he's right. So there, I just don't know how you can go away from that. I mean, that's to me, when you start putting all these players in there and talking about top 5, top 3, whatever, this is the only one that you can make an argument that you have a top 3 and probably a, without injury, top 5.
Yeah, no arguments here. I mean, to me, that's how I started this list. Is, I mean, they immediately went into the number 1 slot. Not even a second thought about it. I mean, that was just automatic. I do have a couple honorable mentions here, 2Ks, I want to hit you with. Not to say that these next 2 pairs will be 11 and 12, but I think they're ones that you want to keep an eye on. The homer in me, Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze. I don't think a number 1 pick has ever entered into a situation as good as this Bears offense could be with the weapons that they have. So I think, and Odunze was arguably aside. I mean, hell, even going into the draft, there were people saying that they would take Odunze over Marvin Harrison Jr. I think those people are nuts, but I do think that these two, the upside is there. The upside is there. It's just going out and doing it now. I'm as a Bears fan, super excited to watch that. And I'll hit you with a curveball here, 2Ks. How about Joe Burrow and T. Higgins?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's very top 10 worthy. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with Jamar. He's the reason why that duo is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Burrow is good enough to where would I take him if we're just starting a franchise? Would I take him over Kyler Murray? Yeah. Would I take him over Baker Mayfield? Yep. When you start getting into the Brock Purdy's, Matt Stafford's, Aaron Rodgers, that top of the tier here, I think is where it kind of gets a little it'd be a little mundane to put these 2 there, but I think they do deserve at least an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, kind of a curveball, because it's you could do this a very similar thing with you mentioned the weapons in Houston and CJ Stroud. I'm a huge believer in CJ Stroud. I mean, yes, love him. But kind of some notes here. Did you have any honorable mentions you wanted to throw in?
I mean, there's a lot of, I guess, question marks behind this, because after some of the offseason, things that happened with Rashee Rice,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's going to be a suspension.
Right.
Come the beginning of this season, have no way of knowing how that's going to shake out. But you have the best quarterback in the NFL, obviously Travis Kelce. We can't talk about him in this because
Right.
he's not a wide receiver. But with what Rashee Rice brought to that team, that was a team that was pretty lackluster beginning and middle of that season, kind of looking for who's going to be the number 2 guy, who can Mahomes trust and get the ball to when teams are doubling and doing everything they can to take Kelce out. And Rashee Rice was that guy. He's the guy that. So to me, he's one that hopefully. I don't know how where things stand on that. I haven't done any research on it, but for the Chiefs case, hopefully they're able to see that, because I think there's a lot of upside with him.
And that was the first note I had here. I said no Mahomes. Kelce isn't a receiver, obviously, and his relationship with Hollywood Brown hasn't developed yet.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up Rice and the kid they drafted, the kid that reset the 40 time. So definite possibilities in Kansas City. And if you watch any of the video from their training camp, they're saying this is the best wide receiver core that Mahomes has ever had.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Didn't they add Hollywood Brown to that also? So I mean, it's definitely a step up from what they had last year. And team wins the Super Bowl, and the rich just continue to get richer. And You know, you just keep on bringing in these freak athletes, more and more speed for Mahomes, and he just proves over and over again that it really doesn't matter
No.
who's there, and as long as you got Andy Reid drawing up plays, and just put anybody out there, and as long as they're really really fast,
Yep.
Mahomes is gonna get you the ball and make things happen.
And unlike Tua, he doesn't underthrow really fast receivers. I mentioned there's no Lamar on here because, like I said, Andrews is a tight end, and I'm not 100% sold on Zay Flowers. I'm really not. Again, year 2 in that offense.
Just what are you gonna get out of him? Zay Flowers was huge numbers, and then 2 or 3 weeks where he just disappeared, and then have a game, and you give him 2 or 3 weeks, and then you can't trust him in fantasy, so you don't put him in your lineup, and that's just in time for him to have a game where he catches 8 passes for 160 yards and scores 2 touchdowns. I guess another one that I really like too is it's hard to leave a Josh Allen off this list, and obviously it's going to be a whole different receiving core.
Yes.
But I like the Keon Coleman rookie from Florida State there. I think him also with Dalton Kincaid, the rookie tight end from last year, being on his second year this year. I think that's a team that a lot of people are not really talking about ever since Diggs goes away. I think Diggs kind of had wore out his welcome there in Buffalo. Kind of was becoming more of a distraction. Look, very very good wide receiver.
He did the same thing
in Minnesota. Yeah. So Josh Allen, who is the guy, very safe to say he is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And like I think Coleman was that receiver in the draft that everybody fell in love with the top 3.
Wasn't he the kid that he asked how to sign his contract?
Yeah.
He's like, well, you sign your name. He's like, oh, like my autograph? So he's definitely won the off season as far as sound bites go. and yeah, I mean, Josh Allen is a huge name that didn't make either of our lists or the honorable mentions. I left off Jordan Love because he doesn't have that one elite receiver.
Guy. Yeah.
Same with Justin Herbert. One that kind of was sniffing around that honorable mention is Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin.
Mm-hmm.
Scary Terry is scary for a reason, and he's done it with Sam Howell and a whole bunch of other jackoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Now is Jaden Daniels the real deal?
Mm-hmm.
That's why he didn't make the list.
Right.
But I have a feeling that's one if you keep an eye on with the potential there, could come closer to cracking the top 10. And we already talked about why I left Justin Jefferson off. So yeah, if you think about it, 2Ks, my list didn't have the number 1 receiver or the number 1 quarterback, just because of the situations, at least in my opinion. And these are, I mean, if you look at it, I think all of these guys, if you did draft them as far as receiver quarterbacks in your fantasy league, I think you'd be doing just fine with just any of the guys that we just talked about. In, like I said, no Mahomes on either of our lists. And I have a feeling with that guy though, 2Ks, he's going to find a way to make one of those receivers crack those top 10 by the end of the season. Well, cool, man. That was a great list. Great list. I think we kind of touched base on everyone that didn't make our list. So let's see here. Do you have anything else to clean up here? I don't think so. Anything else, 2Ks, that we might have missed?
No.
All right. I think this is show 8 or 9 where we continue to dick ride Paul Skeens. So I will. The one thing this show is missing, 2Ks, is we haven't had we didn't have our Nolan Ryan nugget of the week, which I didn't really find any cool ones. So all was a really old picture of him, and I didn't think that was podcast material. So. All right, well, 2K crew, we'll get you out of here on that. Everyone, continue to like and share our stuff. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button, the bell, and give us a sub so you'll get notified every time we go live. TikTok, we love you guys and gals as well. Everyone on Twitter and Facebook, and our the lone soldiers out there that are listening to the audio version of this. You guys are the real MVPs. Keep downloading and we will keep coming back. We will see you all next week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.